Hello YouTube! So as promised in my last video, I am recording another one, which is why my clothes are the same. It's not that I haven't changed clothes in a week, it's just that this is right away. I'm kind of liking this setup here, so I think this might be where my videos are recorded from here on out, but we'll see. Anyway, so I wanted to clarify something from the BBC radio interview that I did. In the video, I don't say it, but the presenter says bigender is moving between man and woman, gender identity of man and woman. That's not accurate, not entirely. Bigender is moving between any two, sometimes more, gender identities, or, genders on the spectrum, on the map, the gender globe, various places. So some people are, they move between male and agender, or between female and neutra, and whatever, okay? So that's out of the way. Just want to make sure. I've been asked, notifications. I've been asked a couple of times recently if I still move between man and woman, and it comes up, I think, in the interview, certainly in the article that went along with it, which I'll put down here in case you didn't get a chance to hear it or read the article. So I've been asked if I still switch. I say in the interview that I present as a woman all the time outside of my job and my kids' school, and that's accurate. And the reason I gave is that it's just easier because cis people and frankly a lot of binary people, both trans and cis, just don't understand, and they don't want to put the work in that's required in order to sort of maintain the idea of two genders with one person, and changing pronouns and changing names and changing expectations, and just confuses people. And there's a lot of pressure. I think this I said but didn't get cut, or got cut. There's a lot of pressure to choose a binary identity, to pick one. And that pressure doesn't just come from, like, cis people who don't understand. It comes from cis people who do understand, or it comes from society at large. Like, we're starting to go through this, like, moment for trans people where we can have conversations that aren't Trans 101 anymore. We can sort of start having Trans 201 conversations. And, Transparent just aired its second season. Just don't get me started. I hated it, by the way. And the UK had a show called Boy Meets Girl, which I've watched 2 episodes of so far. 2, maybe 3? I think 2 out of the 6. And I really enjoy it. And it's actually really lovely and treats their character with respect. And they're actually good people, or at least good intended people, unlike Transparent, which is just horrible people doing horrible things for horrible reasons. So, like, we're having these conversations now that are different from what we've had to have in the past, but still, there's this context of you're moving from point A to point B, and that's it, and, like, it's a one-way trip, and once you're there, that's it, and, so there's a lot of pressure, and I think that maybe I have, internalized a lot of that pressure. I'm more prone to call myself a trans woman these days than I am to call myself a bigender person. If I really feel like wanting to explain to people, I will say bigender trans woman, but that's just more confusing. They're like, well, are you trans woman or are you not? Like, I've gotten into arguments with other bigender people, even, about it. Stupid, petty bullshit arguments on Tumblr. It's not the same thing, but whatever. But a lot of my experience being trans has more to do with trans women's experience than gender fluid people. My sense of myself has always been much more on the women's side of the spectrum anyway, so even if I'm not feeling like super girly, I'm still feeling like a, woman. Just sort of more towards the center, I guess. I think some of that, too, comes from I've been working from home for the last 3 years. So I have not had to go into an office every day pretending to be a man and being interacted with as a man and having my dysphoria sort of pushed and triggered and activated all the time. Because when I was in the office every day, there was I had to be a man. And while I am somewhat of a feminine man anyway, I'm certainly feminine of center, I was never particularly flamboyant about it, and I didn't push other people's expectations too very hard outside of, I have long hair. Which, if you work in IT, there's guys with long hair all over the place, and they're not all trans women. So having to be in that environment all the time and have to constantly be interacted with as a gender that I'm not feeling made it much more distinct, made it feel much more distinct when, I was able to sort of escape that. There was a way for me to just sort of put that behind me and then, embody my womanhood, but it was rarer. It was something I had to make time for. And now, working from home, this is what I look like if I'm not in my pajamas. And I'm in my pajamas, actually, most of the time. But that's beside the point. But now I have the freedom to just express myself as myself most of the time, and my default is much closer to woman than otherwise. And, 6 years of HRT will do some stuff too. So I guess, yeah. So I get read as a woman regardless of my presentation most of the time. So I just sort of roll with it, and I'm pretty satisfied with that. And so now, instead of having to be a man at work all the time and then be myself occasionally, now I'm myself all the time, and occasionally I have to be a man for other people's expectations, and it's infrequent enough that I don't care so much. So to answer the question, do I switch? I don't know that I do anymore. My sense of myself as a gender sort of moves around, but in the realm of womanhood, that's where it moves. So, I'm just a woman most of the time. I think woman is a broad category. I meant to mention this in my last video, but I think that I take a much more expansive view of, gender and what's allowed in a gender than a lot of people. My kids still call me dad. I still refer to myself as their father. I don't know that I would ever call myself their mother. Their mom has a pretty firm grip on that anyway. I think it would make a lot of people uncomfortable if I were. But it's not something I'm looking for, because being raised by a single father, he had to fulfill a lot of parenting roles for me that sometimes are delegated. So, I don't think you have to be a man to be a father. I don't think that's a requirement. So I think calling myself their father doesn't negate my womanhood in any way. And I don't think I'm required to force a male identity out of anything just to hold on to that, My oldest is going to high school next year. Me and her mom just went to a event last week, getting her ready, first freshman orientation kind of thing. And it was weird. I don't know, she's growing up, she's becoming this whole other person. And so her and I can have different conversations now, I think, about gender and what it means and what my gender and gender expression mean. And she's going to be in a much wider community than she's in right now because her school only has like 300 students for the whole school. Well, she's going to have more than that in her 9th grade class, you know? So it's going to be interesting to see sort of where things go in the next few years, like what presentations are going to be sort of required for people's ability to navigate and social climate and that kind of thing. So it's going to be interesting anyway. I'm sort of off topic. Do I move around? Not as much as I used to. Not so much that I would have to like force other people in my life to deal with it. I don't know if I've given into the pressure of a binary identity or if it's just something that sort of developed in my ability to express myself sort of at whim or for the most part. But yeah, that's the answer to that question. Do I move around? Not as much as I used to, and even the movement that my gender does on this sort of spectrum or pendulum stays pretty close to like the womanhood side. So it's usually just easier to call myself a trans woman. Occasionally I'll say non-binary trans woman. Very occasionally I'll say bigender trans woman, because my experience and the way that I relate to gender and to my body and to the world has a lot more to do with trans women's experience than, gender fluid, non-binary people, just because of the way my life has sort of developed. But who knows? Who knows? Things change. Like, this isn't where I thought I'd be 5 years ago. So there's no telling where I'll be 5 years from now. But I guess we'll all find out, won't we? So yeah, that's all I have. Like, subscribe, send me questions, comments. All of my contact information is below. Feel free to friend my Brin Convenient profile on Facebook. And if you need support, if you need a friend, if you need someone to just listen, reach out, and I'll be here. Especially for you bigender folks. I'm not going anywhere, and I'm not quite giving up on calling myself bigender just yet. So, all right. I will hopefully see you next week, or you'll see me next week. I guess I can't see you, but anyway. Take care, lovelies.